Paging Aitken Robertson to courtroom number 2. The jury is back with a verdict. Members of the jury, how do you find the accused? Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty on all accounts, Your Honor.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Aitken Robertson Legally Speaking YouTube channel. Today we have counsel Sudine Riley with us discussing consent. Sudine, can you explain to us the concept of consent? What is consent?
In sexual assault cases in Canada, consent is considered one of the most critical aspects that determines the legal outcome. So it's defined, or it refers to the voluntary agreement of the complainant to engage in sexual activity or the sexual activity in question. So the presence or absence of consent must be proven by the Crown beyond a reasonable doubt.
What would it constitute consent if the complainant remained silent or just didn't say anything or didn't say no?
Interestingly, no. So silence or passivity on the part of the complainant does not imply that there is consent. The accused person cannot rely on assumptions regarding consent. That accused person is expected to take reasonable steps to ascertain consent. Although honest but mistaken belief in consent may serve as a defense if the accused can demonstrate that they took those reasonable steps to determine that there was indeed consent on the part of the complainant.
Sudine, when can it be said that there is no consent whatsoever?
Of course. So if a person says no, that's the easiest way that you can come to the conclusion that there is no consent. If the activity takes place out of force or out of fear, application of injury or threats of force to that person or to any other person, that essentially also can be something that will vitiate consent in the circumstances.
And how does alcohol and alcohol abuse play into consent?
So in Canadian law, if we're looking at the issue of alcohol intoxication and consent, essentially you would have to look at the person's capacity to consent. Canadian law requires that consent to sexual activity be given voluntarily by someone with the capacity to do. And of course, alcohol consumption can impair that person's judgment. It can cause that person's decision-making abilities, essentially impair that person's decision-making abilities, potentially impacting their capacity to provide what is considered meaningful and informed consent. If a person is intoxicated to the point where they are incapable of understanding the nature of the sexual activity or of communicating that consent, then any sexual activity that occurs, that may be considered non-consensual, and therefore it could constitute sexual assault. This is true even if the person that's intoxicated did not explicitly say no or they did not resist. It is really the responsibility of the accused person in the circumstances to, I would say the onus is on the person in the circumstances to ensure that the consent is reasonable and they took reasonable steps to ascertain that the person could give free, informed, and voluntary consent to the activity.
Thank you for tuning in to Legally Speaking, proudly brought to you by Aitken Robertson Criminal Defence. We represent clients facing criminal charges all over Ontario, providing you with legal support and dedicated advocacy. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more content, please like and subscribe to our channel. For more information, visit our website. We also offer free books on various types of criminal charges, which you can request on our website or by using the QR codes on your screen now. For legal assistance, call us today or visit our website to request a meeting with one of our experienced lawyers or licensed paralegals. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Legally Speaking.